Yo, 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 good people. Welcome to the HERBMAN Show. Yo, yo, back in the building. Back in the building, man. We're talking about herbs, talking about the body, we're talking about herbs, how we can help ourselves, okay? Remember that you want to always understand the body in its simplest form, okay? Make this thing very simple. We're talking about acids and alkalines, bases. We are talking about also heat and water. And that's really the only two components to the body. You're talking about heat and water. All right. And with that temperature, with that pressure that's within the body, we have a situation where we can either change things into solids, liquids, or gases. Okay. And so when the temperature goes up, the pressure goes up. That can start to create vapor or gases in the body. Okay, so I'm just giving you guys a real simple way of understanding health. All right, because this is really what you're going to need. When you are solidifying the body, this is kind of when the temperature of the body, the pressure is starting to lower itself. So, i.e., this is where the colds come in at. All right, so you guys tap in the screen when you come in, hit those likes, share the live. All right. So with that being said, with this heat that you're intaking with the oxygen, and then with the saline, the plasma that's already consistent with the body, right? So you have this saline where it has all these minerals and vitamins in it. This is the fluids of the body. So when the fluids meet the heat that is being generated by the oxygen, then you have this incubator to where you're able to produce more cells. So this is where that catabolic and that anabolic actions start to take place within this incubation of heat and this saline, this solution. Okay, it starts to create this life. This life now starts to make sure that your tissues are good, your organs are good, and then ultimately your organ systems. So what we have to pay attention to is the temperature and the pressure within the body. And when the temperature goes up, the pressure goes up. Well, then this will produce either a solid, a liquid, or a gas. So when we're talking about cholesterol buildup, that's something solidifying. When we're talking about calcification, that's something solidifying. When we're talking about organs being clogged up, that's something solidifying. Blood clotting is something solidifying, right? Remember that it's in a liquid state. It's in a saline solution state in the beginning. So when temperature goes down, sometimes it can start to solidify, just like cold will freeze water. Okay, this stagnation, this stoppage in growth and development can also be conducive to the cold nature. The temperature of the body went down. That's why we call it a cold, although we may not be necessarily feeling cold. They call it a cold because why? This could be where you start seeing a lot of the mucus. Okay, so over in the gaseous side of it, this is kind of where you start to get into the temperatures going up in the body. So as the temperature rises in the body, the pressure rises in the body, and now you can start dealing with high blood pressure. So the pressure is high, that means the temperature is high. This is kind of where the gases start to come in at. This is where you start having digestive issues, irritable bowel syndrome, start having Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, lupus, and all these other types of stuff that really aggravates the digestive system can start to be produced when things get vaporized too much, gassy too much, okay? You can also start having respiratory issues as well. This gas, this burping, all this stuff that we're doing is because the temperature in the body has gotten too hot. So we got to simplify it down to just understanding how we need to keep the body. So the optimal way to keep the body is in this liquid format. We don't want to create gases in the body, and we don't want to create solids in the body. And it's very easy for the body to solidify because of these minerals that's inside of this solution, okay? So this is what we got to understand about health. It's very easy, all right? Very, very easy. The body is composed of heat and water. So our whole job is to make sure that this incubation stays in a liquid format. If we cut the temperature up down or high, it can create solids or gases within the body that are going to start to either corrode the organs or it's going to start to overuse the organs, right? So it's either going to stagnate them or they're going to burn out. One or the other, stagnation or you burnt out. Heat will burn out the organ. Cold will stagnate the organ, okay? Cold will stagnate the organ. So we're talking about cancers, we're talking about something being solidified. A cancer has to form a tumor, a growth, right? So this is the solidification of cells. This is a cold nature disease. So you want to apply heat to those types of things. If you're having a lot of mucus build up in the body, a lot of mucus build up in the organs and all this type of stuff, right? This is a wet condition. So you want to address this stuff with dry herbs. You see what I'm saying? So dry is for wet, wet is for dry, hot is for cold, cold is for hot. So this is what some of the ancient understandings were when we're talking about the temperaments. What you think about aloe vera? Aloe vera, I mean, you know, it's a very acidic herb, but it can be good for skin issues. So to me, it's a more of a topical herb that you can use, okay? A lot of the herbs that you can use are going to be toxic, they're going to be acidic, but these are going to be for if you are in an acidic or toxic state, right? You're going to need something strong to fight something strong. Outside of that, though, you don't really need to be dealing with toxic herbs or acidic herbs. You want to deal with more of the alkaline herbs because, again, anytime that you're in these states, it's going to be acidic or either alkaline. So how do you come out of an acidic state? Through alkalinity, okay? Through the admission of alkaline foods and herbs in the body. That's how you come out of the acidic state, okay? Now, what we're talking about, though, is the disease state. How do you come out of the disease state? So a disease state is a lot different. It's a lot more integral, right? And it requires a lot more information. So what causes the disease is when we're staying in these either stagnated or overuse stages for too long. So when we've been stagnated too long, then that means that organ is going to be depleted. That means it may not even work properly. It may be a definitely a physiological underfunctioning of that organ, okay? But when we're overusing the organ to compensate, which is what the body does, then now you're talking about the compensation. So you're walking around here with hyperinsulinemia and you don't know it, and so your pancreas is overproducing insulin, which is creating this whole type 2 diabetic type of symptomatic structure, which is they don't want the insulin anymore. So because they're not receiving the insulin anymore, the brain continues to tell the pancreas to produce more insulin. So now you're caught in this cycle of overusing the pancreas. So now you either need help with lowering the blood sugar. You see what I'm saying? So which one is which? So for me, an organ that does not work, which is a stagnated organ, which is a type 1. Let's say we're just using diabetes, for instance. Type 1 diabetic to me is a cold state because the organ is stagnated. Type 2 is an overusage, meaning that there is a hot state, right? Because you're overusing, you're overworking, you're causing a lot of work, a lot of friction, you're causing a lot of action there. There's going to be heat that's also going to be generated. The energies, that's what we got to look at. So stagnation, this underfunctioning pancreas, this pancreas that doesn't push out enough insulin, this has gotten to where it's a cold nature, right? Because it's not functioning properly. So type 1 would be cold nature. I would treat that with heating type of herbs. Type 2 would be hot nature. I would treat that with cold. type of herbs. You see the difference? So it's all about how you can understand these particular temperaments and understand now how to work with body, how to work with self. Yeah, go ahead and keep getting them likes, man. Share the videos. Let everybody know your homie HERBMAN is on, all right? So this is the kind of understanding that need to come back into play when we're dealing with herbalism, when we're trying to be these herbalists, okay? It's not about just sea moss and burdock root. There's so many other aspects to it that we can utilize to really be effective, even though we don't have this expensive diagnostic, instrumentation. So because we don't have that, and because we're not doctors, we still need to have some type of system that creates us to be just as effective as if you did go into the allopathic industry, okay? We got to be just as effective. And so these are some of the tools that were utilized in ancient times to be effective in that time. Now, do they still work? From my understanding, yeah. From my understanding, they still work, you guys. They're still credible, they're still effective, and they still have a place in our society. Everybody, most of the time when people get sick, all they're looking for is effectiveness. They're just looking for something that is going to work, that is going to work expediently, and that is going to change the situation from what they're currently dealing with. That's really all people are looking for when they're looking for health situations, right? So as long as the system is effective, then you're going to be successful. So you don't worry about anything else outside of the effectiveness of the system. And I've been dealing with these old ancient systems since I've been doing this, and they are highly effective. And I don't have anything else to my disposal to be able to work with outside of these resources. And I'm telling you, they make for a very good practice. They allow me to be as specific, as close to what it is as I possibly can. And then we're able to now connect the dots with what's going on. What kind of situation is it? What herb do you need for the condition? And then you're spot on. And when you're spot on, you're effective. And when you're effective, you're successful. People begin to talk about you, start spreading the word. Hey, look at this guy over here on the corner. Seems like he knows what he's talking about, what he's doing, because X, Y, and Z has been reversed in my own condition. And so that's why I talk a lot about these things, to let you guys know the effectiveness. Go ahead and keep liking the video and keep sharing, man. Tell somebody your homie HERBMAN is on. So again, all we're looking for is to understand that there's two entities in the body: heat and water, heat and plasma, okay? Heat and this saline solution. And this thing has to be 98.5, all right? And it has to be that particular warmth in order to continue to produce life in this saline. And this saline is producing cells, okay? These cells are producing tissues. These tissues are producing organs. And these organs are what is keeping your organ systems going on. I believe that's what we're doing, going back to natural remedies. Yeah, of course, because of the virus, right? Because of what's going on with the virus, it has pushed everybody into learning more alternative methods. And so the world is going to blow up. We should have a herb shop beside every liquor store in our community. So I'm looking to try to promote more of herb shops. There's a lot of internet stuff going on, but when you're on the internet, the competition is extravagant on the internet. Right here along my street, I maybe have 4 other competitors. So I'd rather compete where you're competing with the numbers can favor you than to get lost in the internet somewhere with millions and millions of people claiming that they know the industry, okay? So you want to be able to get these things out, get these things tangible in the community. People treat these places just like a clinic or a doctor office. They come in, they want to be able to talk about stuff that's going on, explain to you the stuff that they've been dealing with. A lot of people have been all around the allopathic community. They've tried different things: Reiki healing, homeopathic stuff, naturopathic stuff, and sometimes some stuff never works. And so to be able to facilitate the conversation, having a place that you can facilitate the conversation, you can also educate the people in the community in this place, right? And then also we're looking at the benefit of practicality, being able to be practical with the herbs so you can know that you're doing what you're supposed to do and stuff works. So the practicality part of this, people tend to really overlook. Having that herb shop will make you more practical. What's a good book for herbs? There's a lot of good books for herbs, right? So you just want to follow the authors. So like Dr. Laila Africa. Um, uh, uh, what else? There's a guy. He's called Mr. Hoffman, David Hoffman, right? Um, who else I got over there? I don't know everybody's name by heart, but you got Reverend Lisa Waltz. Yeah, Reverend Lisa Waltz. Reverend Lisa Waltz. And then also, my whole motive was to attach herbs with astrology. So, what I'm saying? That's really what I do in order to be able to map out some type of roadmap of how we move forward with a person's health. So, David Hoffman, man, the medical herbalism book is a really good book. Like I said, Reverend Lisa Waltz is very good. Dr. Laila Africa, and those are just a few different people. David Hoffman really opens up a lot of stuff. Thomas Bartram, the Bartram Herbal Dictionary is really good, really helpful. I go to these books a lot when I'm looking up different concoctions, different herbs. I use these books as references to be able to solidify what you're doing for a client. So I'm never void of my resources. I'm never, too far gone to where I don't resort back to the books that got me here, okay? But you definitely want to have those books, man, to keep you in the game, keep you understanding the dichotomy of the body, keep you understanding the dichotomy of the herbs, keep you with a particular system and a format of how to address people when you're looking at these herbs. You want to go off the actions, not necessarily the herbs. All right. And so those are the types of stuff that you want to definitely understand. But again, to simplify this thing, man, it's just water and heat. And your biggest job is to maintain the temperature and the pressure in the body so that you can keep the body in liquid format and not going over to solids or gases. That's the easiest way to understand this. The body has to stay at a certain temperature and a certain pressure to keep the body in liquid format. Any tip and toying with this temperature and pressure, which foods would do, which external things would also take part in, stressors, all this stuff. Stress raises the pressure. The pressure raises, the temperature raises. All right. There's external environment can raise the temperature. Raise the temperature, the pressure raises. Okay. External environment can also lower the temperature. You lower the body, now you're gonna run into some solidifying. Okay. So you got to look at the body like that. Fats or oils. When you put your oil that you cook your fried chicken in, if you leave it in cool air, it's going to turn into a solid. Coconut oil. If you leave it out, it's going to turn into a solid. As soon as you put it in your hand, it's going to dissipate, turn back into a liquid. This is the same thing it's doing in the body. Okay? I'm an Army vet, so a lot of the food they used to feed us makes a lot more sense these days. I'm a Navy vet, so I do understand the foods, but it was all about energy, right? Especially when you're in the military, those foods are just straight up energy foods to get you going, right? We don't need you fat because you can't run. We don't need you. We just need you energized up to go and for go long periods of time. So you're always going to have pastas and grains and all that type of stuff because that was the carbs that you need, man, to keep yourself going. So military food is going to be high carbs, okay? Energy for the cells. But again, when we're looking at how we're constructed, we have to understand this heat and water so that we can pay attention to the temperatures and the pressures that the body goes through on a day-to-day basis. And what handles these temperatures is your thyroid. Your thyroid gland handles most of the bulk of the body temperature. So you'll see that a lot of people are having thyroid issues, needing to have their thyroid taken out, needing to readjust the thyroid, needing to do stuff for more calcium because of your parathyroid. All this type of stuff is because the body temperature is off, okay? And it's because we go through these cold spells where things get stagnated, and then we go through these heat spells where things get gassy and vaporized, okay? And so you're constantly going back and forth from acidic to alkaline state, when really the job is, again, to keep it liquefied. In order to do that, you have to keep it neutral. So when the car is running on acids, you have to put alkalinity in it, not to get it alkaline, but to get it neutral. Okay? Not to get it alkaline, but to get it neutral. And it's the same thing with what you're doing with your body temperature and body pressure. It's not designed for you to get it alkaline. It's designed for you to use alkalinity to get it back into neutral. Okay? And it's the same thing with the heat and the air. The heat and the water. It's not designed for you to overwater something. It's just designed for you to get it back to incubation, to a place where... Yeah, man. So we definitely got to get everything in perspective as far as what we want to eat, what we want to put into the body, how we want to maintain that incubation is going to be imperative moving forward. You guys, I'm going to start having this information out a lot more on my YouTube, on my Facebook. I'm just basically trying to simplify this for everybody, right? What is it that we need to do when we're entering these issues? And we just got to put them in two categories, either acidic or alkaline, or hot or cold, or dry or wet, right? And then all you're doing is giving the opposite that you need for that issue. Okay? If you're in a heated state, you need cold stuff. If you're in a wet state, you need dry. And vice versa. And that's really all that it really can do. I know it may seem elementary to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, what's up? Peace, Duke. At the end of the day, man, it works. And all I'm trying to do is tell y'all what is I've actually practiced on the community. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm out here really in these streets, man. Let me see if I can show y'all. I'm really out here in these streets, man. We really out here in the community. Again, not hiding behind any internet claims. I'm not hiding behind Dr. Sabi. He inspired me to do this thing, to learn this thing just like him. And so we really out here, man. We really on the corner block, out here doing this thing in a practical format. So we know what works. We know what don't work. We know what can work. And, again, it's just all about being practical with your approach to everything. So I'm telling you guys something that I know that works, because that is really all I know. It's all I got. You know what I'm saying? In order for me to be effective, I'm just telling y'all what I got that made me effective. And it's this system. This system of simplifying. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. You know what I'm saying? So I have to make sure that I can simplify stuff. Now, one thing about me is I've always been a problem solver. I've always been an engineer-like mentality. So I use that mentality to break stuff down to its finite, right? To its simplest format, and realize, okay, it's not that difficult when you get to start to think about it. When you've had enough information, when you've accumulated enough knowledge in biology, in chemistry, in physiology, in the psychology of the individual, then you start to put these things together, and you start to ask yourself the question of, what is it that the human race is attempting to do? Again, we're attempting to live long. We're attempting for longevity, self-preservation, all right? A fight for the resources. That's what the human race, that's what you're racing toward, the resources of this world, okay? And what we have to understand is that we are self-sufficient with most resources. The only job we really need to do as humans, really honestly, outside of all this superficial stuff, is make sure that our temperatures and our pressures stay in a cohesive format. And you have to do this with what you drinking and what you eating and the environment you in and how you feeling about a thing and what you thinking about. All of this play a role in the fluctuation of these temperatures and pressures, which will then have you crossing over into solids, gases, and liquids, right? And the whole job this whole time is for us to just keep it in the liquid format. Keep the body in the liquid format, keep it incubating so that you can go through these catabolic and anabolic processes that the body will do of breaking down what you put into it and then building it back up with the things that it needs. And this goes not just for food, this is for information that goes into the portals, the eye portals, the ear portals. All of these information also has to go through a breakdown and a build up process. So that means that it's also using energy. So just because you sitting watching something and ain't talking, don't mean you're not using energy. Just because you sitting there listening to something and not speaking, don't mean you're not using energy. All information, all inputs of the body has to go through a breakdown and a buildup. The body keeps what it needs, discards what it don't. Okay? This goes on in every aspect of your being. Me sitting here talking to you right now, my cells are regenerating in that fluid with the right amount of heat, and it's allowing me to be able to speak to you, move my hands this way, articulate what I'm trying to articulate to you, look at the video. All of this type of stuff is going on, and it just seems like I'm just a human being. But that's the amazing thing about understanding the internal aspect of the body. So you'll know when they say know thyself, this is what they try to get you to understand. What do I have to do to reach longevity, to reach eternity, right? There's a lot of things that we can do. And eternity doesn't mean you physically are here for forever, but it actually really does. It does mean that. Think about people who leave their legacy over recorded video. That's why people know about Dr. Sabi now. But Dr. Sabi been dead. But how do you know about him? How do your kids going to know about him? Right? Because he left something here that's going to keep him living beyond his physical presence here. But then he's still here because you can turn him on to YouTube. You can put him on the TV. Same way with Tupac and Elvis. They still here as long as you're still listening to him. Why is Jesus' name so powerful? Because there's so many people that speak it. And anytime we put our energy into anything, it will be the thing. Okay? So now we just have to internalize that energy because it's also how you activate your self-healing mechanism. The herbs don't do the healing, the food don't do the healing, the body does. If you cut yourself right now, of all 5 of y'all who are watching this video, if you go right now and cut yourself and don't do nothing about it, you ain't going to eat well, you ain't going to drink nothing, you ain't going to do nothing about it, that sore will still heal. That sore will still heal itself. Now ask me why. Because the body has a self-healing mechanism to it. The cells know how to bind and regenerate tissue itself. So if you left the cut alone, you would heal. No matter if you ate good or ate it all, no matter if you drank good or drank it all, no matter if you put herbs on it or herbs at all, no matter if you had the knowledge to go get a poultice, go get a Band-Aid, it doesn't matter what is into the brain, the body was already came with its own self-sufficiency, you guys. And it's just that we don't know how to tap into self-sufficient because we haven't been so self-sufficient. Right? Prince is bigger now than ever. Yes, sir. We don't know how to be self-sufficient. So we're so dependent that we don't really understand the true nature, the true magical nature of the human body. It could do everything on its own. All you got to do is just leave it alone and let it do it. If you're coming down with a disease, leave yourself alone and let it heal itself. The best thing you can do is give it those healing properties. And you have to give it life for life. If you want life out of the situation, you have to feed the body live food. It has to be so fresh. It has to be so freshly picked. It's got to be freshly killed if you're trying to eat meat. This is the authenticity of really what we need to understand, okay? that it's the authenticity of the food that is causing you the disease, not necessarily what you're eating. What you're eating, if it was in its organic format, you might find a different result in your health. But because of the authenticity of the food that you're eating, because it's not that authentic as it used to be, then you're not getting out of it the vitamin and minerals and all of this nutrition that you think you are. And because of that, there's a decline in one's health. Now, I spoke earlier about the DNA. When you have deficient DNA, or when your DNA has been disrupted, then that means that now it's going to produce sickly cells. So if you're dealing with chronic inflammation, it's because over time, your body will regenerate these things all the time, you guys. Every 3 to 5 days, you get new gastric cells. So if you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, all these types of diseases, right, that affect the gut, every 3 to 5 days, you're continuing to produce irritable bowel syndrome cells. And that's why you're still inflamed. You're continuing to produce ulcerative colitis cells. And that's why you're continuing to be inflamed. So what we have to do is we have to understand, why is the DNA been disrupted? 92% of DNA disruption comes from where? Vitamin and mineral deficiency. Over 90% of your DNA disruption comes from vitamin and mineral deficiency. The rest of it comes from this over-acidicness, right? The sugars, the alcohols, the tobaccos, and the plastics, the chemicals, the drugs, and the mold in the air. The rest of it is that little stuck into that 8%. But 92% of DNA disruption comes from vitamin and mineral deficiency. It's because we don't know our vitamin and mineral content. So it would behoove us to understand that in a nutshell, to realize that those vitamin and minerals is what is floating in this water, in this saline. And the heat that you are providing it can either do one or two things. The temperature is either going to deplete the minerals, right? They're going to deplete them because we know heat can dissolve these minerals, okay? Or they're going to be stagnated because your body is too cold. Now, what can make the body cold? Mucus can make the body cold. Stagnation, because of something is not working properly, can cause you to get a cold, make the body cold. Why did we say you had a cold? Because we saw mucus, right? We saw your nose running, or we saw you sneezing all the time, or this, that, and the third, and we said, man, you got a cold. But that person's body wasn't necessarily cold. It was because of the physical appearance of the mucus. So mucus is of the cold nature. Okay, stagnation is of the cold nature. Okay, now what can produce these cold natures? Fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are mostly going to be cold to the body. So the operative time to eat fruits and vegetables would be in the summertime when it's hot. But if you start eating fruits and vegetables in the wintertime, you got cold external air, which is going to drop the temperature in the body and the pressure. Then you're eating cold fruits and vegetables, which are now going to provide a cooling sensation to the blood. And now you're externally cold and internally cold. And now stagnation starts to happen. And now you're saying, well, I'm eating good, I'm a vegan, but why am I sick? Because out of season eating and not understanding how to keep this body temperature and body pressure understanding that I'm giving you guys right now is not being understood. And when you start to eat out of season, out of line, you start to create either higher temperatures or lower temperatures. Now let's go to the summertime. We already know that meat products is going to do what? We know that meat products is going to set fire to that stomach, right? Going to warm the body up. Because why? You got to have high energy to break these foods down, especially proteins. Got to have high energy. So now you revving up the engine. So your temperature going up, meaning the pressure is going up. Especially if you're eating a lot of high salt, which is all in the meats. This is how they're able to sustain so long, because these preservatives are normally salt-based. Okay? So there you go. Now you're gonna eat this salt-based meat, whether it's a cold cut, whether it's a steak, whether it's whatever. You know, all that meat tastes better with salt on it. Chicken, I don't care what you call it out. It tastes better with salt on it. Lamb, throw that salt on it. Steak, throw that salt on it. Okay, everything tastes better with salt. Okay, so now that's going to rev up the engine. You start running hot. You start running hot. Now it's already summertime. So now you have the external temperature that raised the temperature in the body. Now you have the internal foods raising the temperature in the body. And now you're worried about why you barely can make it through summer because you're so lethargic, because of the high blood pressure, because now you're swelling everywhere, you're going through water retention. All of these are signs that you don't know how to eat in season. And you don't know how to keep the pressure and the temperature at balance so that it doesn't vaporize the liquid or solidify the liquid. So now, because you're in summer eating fried foods and eating spicy foods in the summertime, you are now vaporizing the body, which means you're walking around here pooting, farting, bloating, and everything all day. And you don't understand why. So I'm giving y'all the science to it. I'm giving you the science. So in the wintertime, you want to go to more of the spicy foods. In the summertime, you want to go to more of the cooling foods. So in the summertime, you should be a fruit-based eater. Fruit-based eater. You can start eating vegetables too in the summer. Spring as well. Cooling stuff because you're externally already going to be hot. So you have to balance this thing out. And the more we understand balance, the more we understand metabolism this way, the more we get it. Good stuff, brother. Thank you for sharing. Gotta go. Hey, man, it's all good. Go tell somebody to go tell somebody. All right? So that's really what we got to look at when we're looking at how to circumvent health issues. And you can do this no matter if you're young or old, right? You can start to understand this science no matter where you at in your health journey, no matter where you at in your age, no matter where you at in your physical condition. You can start to understand this easy, simple way to learn how to balance one's internal temperature and cope that with what is going on externally. Because the whole thing is about the temperature and the pressure. I balance that, I balance health. So again, if it's summertime in your area, this is a great time for cooling foods. The fruits and the herbs are going to be cooling. The mint teas are going to be cooling. And you want to be able to cool yourself down. If you are dealing with hot episode issues, you want to go to those cooling herbs, those cooling foods, which are going to be your water fruits or your water vegetables, celery, watermelon, mango, all this stuff that has high water content, also going to be hot cooling foods, very high cooling foods, okay? And if you are dealing with stagnation in any kind of way, maybe you are a cold nature person, maybe you're one of those people that will go home and even though the AC on and even though it's 100 degrees outside, you'll throw on your overcoat and everything and walk through the house because you're cold. You don't know why you're cold, but you're cold. Even though it's 74 degrees in here, it's cold to me. All right? So you're a cold nature person. So that type of person is going to need spicy foods, going to need things that are going to generate digestive fire. Okay, so these are your gingers and your your limes and all this type of stuff that was going to ignite the fire of your gastric fire. Okay, this is going to warm the body up and get you ready for the next phase. You don't want to catch a cold, so why do we prescribe spicy herbs for getting over the cold? Cardamom, cinnamon, ginger, clove. All these herbs have been known to heal us from colds, but they have a spicy nature because these are the spices that you're going to need if you're dealing with cold nature issues. These also are going to be great for, again, stagnation in the blood. Cinnamon, cayenne pepper, all those things are good for stagnation in the blood, stagnation in the digestive system. Fennel, cardamom, marjoram, You know, all of these different herbs have always been good for the digestive system. Keep hitting those likes and keep sharing the video, you guys. All right. So this is the things that we need to learn moving forward. I didn't want to stay on here long, but I definitely wanted to make this video strong. Okay. Go tell somebody about your homie HERBMAN. We out here pushing out quality education and quality results in the community, and it's very much needed. All right. You guys can go to my YouTube. You can follow me there. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Love HERBMAN. All right. And I want you guys to be more attentive to yourself and understand that there's only two lanes that you're going to be in: acid or alkaline, heat or water. You don't want to necessarily get into solidifying or vaporizing yourself. Keep yourself in liquid format, meaning that you have to use alkalinity when you're acidified to get you back to neutral. That should be your aim. That should be your game. I love you guys, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Go tell somebody about your homie HERBMAN. And until next time, love HERBMAN. I may come back on Saturday and Sunday, you guys, so y'all can answer. I answer all your questions. Okay. So bring all your people on Saturdays and Sundays. We'll try to do this about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And then we will definitely start the Ask HERBMAN series. And if you guys got questions, concerns, if you really just want to know how to get healthy, how to reverse your diseases, this is the place to do it. You can also email me at HERBMAN@loveherbman.com, HERBMAN@loveherbman.com, or you can also call me at 770-679-1708. That's 770-679-1708. Peace. Yo, 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 good people. Welcome to the HERBMAN Show.